Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the MTG Arena Top 10. We got Kaladesh Remastered, and it makes sense that we go over the cards that did not make it. So here are the top 10 cards that didn't make it to Kaladesh Remastered. Actually, when I did a final count, it turns out it's more like a top 19 cards, but it's still organized in a top 10 list. There are a few cycles, there are a few recurring teams here and there. But we're gonna go over these cards. We'll see which ones did not make it and why. Now, the cards that did not make the list are the ones that were banned at one point or another, like Smuggler's Copter, Felidar Guardian. That one has a big combo. Walking Ballista. That one also has a big combo. Now, there is some argument as to whether Historic could survive the Saheeli Rai Felidar Guardian combo or the Heliod Walking Ballista combo. Well, probably not, because they did end up banning it in Pioneer. That said, we're not going to mention these cards. I also will not mention the cards that were also banned at one point but are somehow still in this set. But that's neither here nor there. Number 10, we're going to get this one out of the way. If you've been playing Kaladesh Remastered drafts, you would notice that we actually have a bit of a broken cycle. So you'd notice that we'd have 3 of the puzzle knots and 2 implements replacing the ones that didn't make it. And here are all the ones that didn't make it. Overall, the implements are generally weaker versions, like the +1/+1 counter but activate as a sorcery is not so great. Implement of Combustion, 1 damage to target player, again, very weak, although you do get to draw cards, basically 1 damage to a player in a cycle. And likewise, Implement of Improvement, that same thing. The reason these got this benefit is essentially just to power the Revolt deck. That was the team of Aether Revolt. But we ended up with essentially a weaker cycle compared to the puzzle knot cycle. Then you might be asking, why then didn't we just get all the puzzle knots? Well, let's take a look at Metal Spinner's puzzle knot. It's essentially draw a card, lose 1 life. This one was very good, perhaps a little bit too good. An argument can also be made for Glassblower's puzzle knot, which gave you a Scry 2 and 2 energy. For those who are playing Historic, experienced the week or so, or maybe up to this time, Aetherworks Marvel punching here and there. Giving the Aetherworks Marvel deck more consistency in the form of Scry 2 probably is probably not a great idea, even if you can. In fact, it's more like the Woodworker's puzzle knot, which gave 3 energy. It's just 1 energy more and 3 life, but no Scry. That one actually turned out to probably be the fairer version. It's not, because Aetherworks Marvel required 6 mana, 6 energy anyway, so that one odd energy tended to get wasted, except on super rare occasions. But then again, here we go. We got this is kind of an explanation on why we have a broken cycle. Number 9. Here's another one that's interesting. This is if you can notice the returning team, it's cards that have way too many energy counters on the image. This was probably the number 1 biggest complaint and biggest feedback from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, where people had a hard time parsing this many symbols. Aetherworks Marvel, that one is 6 symbols. That one is kind of in the upper end, but still relatively parsable. 8 counters. 8 token, 8 symbols is a little bit harder to parse. Some people were saying that probably there should be a break in between symbols, or probably they just use a number than the symbol. That probably might work better. We don't have a reformatting yet, probably because there's no revisit to energy anytime soon. This is just a reprint set after all, but it's kind of been a shame. Aether Squall Ancient would have been interesting as a continuous energy target. Wait, Aetherworks Marvel. On second thought, never mind, forget I said that. Architect of the Untamed is a bit of a shame, because this was the card that was used to highlight energy as a mechanic when they first announced Kaladesh as a set. And Gonti's Aetherheart, this probably would have been fairer compared to Aetherworks Marvel. It just gave an extra turn. It exiled, so it was not a repeatable effect, and it cost a bit more. Instead, we have to deal with this card called Aetherworks Marvel. Yeah, I guess you can see I'm still kind of bitter over that. I do end up making the deck. I just never got around to playing with it. I probably should just give it a shot. Anyway, that's number 9. Cards with way too many energy symbols for their own good. Number 8, Scrounging Banner. Now, this one is a bit of an oddity. I was looking for some sort of conspiracy theory here. In fact, this was not the first time Scrounging Banner was left out of Arena. It was left out from Jumpstart as well. This was actually a Jumpstart card. It was also reprinted in Commander Legends. So, there is no modern reason not to have this card. The only reason I can think of at this point is basically a technical issue. It's a limitation of It's a limitation of the client, which is why we don't get the upkeep move counters effect, which is kind of weird considering that we do have a card that moves. We have a black uncommon that does move counters from permanent to permanent, so that's why I was thinking there might have been other reasons, but the fact that they've reprinted this one recently twice goes to show that it's most likely a technical limitation, which also doesn't make sense. But anyway, insert your conspiracy theory here. This is number 8, Scrounging Banner. Number 7, this is Wrangle. If you thought Claim the Firstborn was annoying enough, this was what you originally had to put up with. 2 mana, gain control of target creature with power 4 or less until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. Yeah, it's more expensive than Claim the Firstborn, but this is also common. So this is what I'd use back then when we had Pauper, when we had Kaladesh, AD Revolt, and Pauper. This was kind of like my extra finisher or extra insurance. Get an extra attacker, take away a blocker. It was a good way to pump up mono red. I guess in terms of the format, having both Claim the Firstborn and Wrangle would have been too annoying. So that's probably why this didn't make the cut. Personally, I would rather have Wrangle over Claim the Firstborn any day, but that's just me. There you go. Number 7, Wrangle. Can't wrangle that one. Number 6, we have another team. This one is this one's actually more of a team of prison effect style cards. We actually have quite a few of these. A lot in the 3 mana slot. So Caught in the Brights gets the boot because it's essentially a pacifism effect with an extra rider that got rid of the creature if you attacked with a vehicle. We don't exactly have that many vehicles attacking, even in constructed. Not much in the way of vehicles attacking. So this one is actually a relatively good cut. Captured by the Consulate. This one's actually a story spotlight card, but this one introduced the annoying mechanic of basically turning your locked down creature into a flag bearer of some sort. So not only did this lock down a creature, well, it could still block, but basically any pump effects, and such have to target the creature that was captured instead. So it did mess up a lot of things. Also, 4 mana is a bit unwieldy, so this is probably why that got cut as well. Anyway, we got Top the Arrest, we have Revoke Privileges, so we got Fairgrounds Warden, so we're not exactly lacking in white removal here. Maybe just avoiding having too much. But that's number 6, Captured in the Consulate, Caught in the Brights. Number 5, since we're talking about vehicles, I'm going to mention Fleetwheel Cruiser, Renegade Freighter. These Fleetwheel Cruiser would have been very interesting in like an super aggro build. It's 4 mana for a 5/3 with trample haste. It's only one time. Only for the turn it enters. Afterwards, you have to crew it every time, which shouldn't be relatively difficult. At least the mono red deck shouldn't have problems doing that. I'm kind of wondering why that one got the cut, but given it's a rare and all that, probably just a case of slots. I would have preferred having this one in, though I might probably be annoyed also, so maybe some kind of 50-50 on that. The surprise for me is Renegade Freighter, 3 mana, 4/3. Whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 and gains trample. So it's essentially, it's a 5/4 trample on attack. It has a very cheap crew cost of 2. This card defined Kaladesh Limited. It was just triple Kaladesh. When AD Revolt came out, we actually have the uncommon version of that freighter. It's the 4 mana. I think it's 4 mana 3/3 the crew cost is cheaper. When it attacks, it got a +1/+1 counter, but no trample. But Renegade Freighter pretty much defined the format, and I think it probably might have over-defined it. Having it as a common was probably an issue as well because it would affect Pauper in the next implementation, so they probably gave that a boot. Another card that also got the boot, but for a very good reason, is Consulate Dreadnought. You'll see the image in the back. I'm not showing the image of the card. Somehow whether it be accidental or intentional, the card came out in very poor taste. I'd recommend searching up, see how a lot of incidental values. I'm saying incidental because I'm trying to avoid saying that it's intentional, but it was still a big controversy nonetheless when you take all factors into consideration. Also, it's a meme card. One mana vehicle with crew 6. Seriously, no thank you. That said, number 5, we got some vehicles that didn't make the cut. Number 4, we have this is actually a bit interesting because if you take note that Revolt is actually a team in absent colors, in essentially but it's mainly white black. Though the multicolor cards that supported Revolt in white green, both of them made the cut also. So it's kind of interesting that we only got one common with Revolt in Kaladesh Remastered. We missed out on a bunch of good Revolt cards. I'm highlighting two of the biggest ones: Greenwheel Liberator, 2 mana 4/3 if you revolted, which is pretty decent, maybe average to below average, so probably that's why that got the easy cut. 8 from the Call. This one probably would have been annoying. 5 mana at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, you get to put that permanent. As if we're not annoyed with Genesis Ultimatum already. Imagine someone casting this like on turn 4, thanks to say a Cultivate, and they manage to sack a Fabled Passage just to get the mana for this. They get a free permanent if they couldn't destroy this enchantment. I'd say 8 from the Call was a better card to remove. Greenwheel Liberator could have been so, but that one's defensible. But we kind of missed out on some of the Revolt power. In fact, we didn't get much Revolt except for uncommons in the set now. So, and Fatal Push. I guess that's enough. Number 4, some of the green Revolt cards. Number 3, Oval Chase Daredevil. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield you control, return it from your graveyard to your hand. So in an artifact set, a repeatable 4/2, even if it just came back to hand, this would have been a decent powerhouse. It had a high enough power to crew a significant number of vehicles. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there might be only one vehicle that has a crew of 5 or greater, at least from the set. But otherwise, having a repeatable creature source when all you'd have to do is play artifacts, this would have really powered up the mono black artifacts. Mono black artifacts / mono black Ugin in Constructed. It would have also been kind of annoying and limited because you would have to deal with a sizable threat over and over again. So this would have skewed it away a lot. It's also very hard to punch through. So I can understand why this one got the cut, but it's a shame we missed out on some power. Number 3, that's Oval Chase Daredevil. Number 2, Mechanized Production. At the time this was printed, we didn't exactly get much in the way of repeatable tokens. The most consistent one we got at the time was clue tokens. So basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. It doesn't even have to be the artifact that's enchanted. So why is this not a good idea now? Let's see. Between treasures from Ixalan Block with food from Throne of Eldraine, we have too many repeatable artifact tokens, all with the same name. So as much as I would love having Mechanized Production, in fact, it's probably interesting, though, albeit overkill, to have both Mechanized Production and Revel in Riches. I think Mechanized Production probably would have been too good for Historic, so they probably made that cut. I don't remember. I might have seen an against the odds video of Mechanized Production in Pioneers, so that might be a reason for it. But Otherwise, yeah, we're missed out on a bunch of good shenanigans. Also, just repeating certain artifacts. Like, imagine enchanting Torrential Gear Hulk with this. Never mind, I'll stop there. Number 2, mechanized production. And number 1, this one, I actually forgot this card existed until I saw an episode of Game Nights. But when I saw this, I'm glad we did not get this one. Number 1, Inspiring Statuary. In fact, it would have been so interesting. I'm still gonna double check now to see if we actually have Inspiring Statuary. No, we implement inventors. Nope. No Inspiring Statuary. And there's a very good reason. Your non-artifact spells you cast have improvised, so it's not so by itself it's essentially a quote-unquote mana rock. You can't cast artifact spells with this, but we do have a good number of colorless spells we want to cast that are not artifacts, like say every iteration of Karn, every iteration of Ugin, Ulamog. Imagine when we go back to... Yeah, that's a good question. If we do go back to one of the Shadows over Innistrad block, will we get Emrakul? Oh my gosh, that would be scary too. But never mind that. There are actually plenty of effects that get powered up by this one. Like, and also remember, I mentioned about having food tokens, treasure tokens. Your treasure tokens now add mana without having to actually tap, unless you need colored. Yeah, this probably would have broken Historic in half. And it's probably a good reason, but that we're not seeing this. But I'd say I'd bring it to everyone's attention that sometimes we do make good cuts in remastered sets. So number 1, Inspiring Statuary. This would have been the biggest powerhouse. It probably would have been more annoying than Aetherworks Marvel, but at least we don't have to worry about that bleak future if that comes to that. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the MTG Arena Top 10. Probably one more Top 10 for the year, December. I'm still wondering what a good topic for that one is. If you have any ideas for what another topic would be to close the year out, do let me know. If you like what you see, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you guys again next time. Have a great week. Have a great week, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving for those in the West Coast. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you guys again next time.